I used to leverage two things. When I was all the renovations that I've done, I had my painter who would be my eyes and ears on the ground, right? Because he's there on site every day. It's not always about cutting corners. People try to basically cut corners without getting the right trades. They'd be like, I'll order the stock and I'll get you the stock and then I'll get the trades to basically do the stock. It's not just about the photos or the marketing. You're selling a dream. That's the big difference that I always say out to people, that, if no one wants this property right now and if there is no attraction to it, that means that there would be no attraction when you put that lipstick to the pig. Choose your property just like you choose your partners. Welcome to the final episode of Help Me Buy Property podcast in relation to Renovations in Real Estate series. In this part, we will help you learn how to identify the right demographics, tailor your renovations to the market segment or the market expectations, and safeguard your profits through smart feasibility checks. Today, we are shifting the focus to numbers, something every renovator eventually faces: how to successfully manage projects when you're not physically there. We will talk about why staging works with the right agents, and those small finishing touches can completely transform your sale prices and the profitability of the project. Now, if you've ever wondered how to renovate smarter and not harder, this is the episode for you. So stay till the very end, and thank you for listening. Let's jump straight in. $1 million questions. Can all of this be done remotely? Like, everyone is trying to do
100%.
remote renovations, Talk to us a bit about that.
100%, no hesitation in my answer there. It's a thing. I think it's become really popular because we spoke about before choosing location and based on what money we've got. And a lot of people just can't afford to renovate even in the better pockets in and around where they live. So they've got no choice but to look further afield. And if you're too far afield, you either, take 2 months off work and go and fly and do it, or you just get somebody else to do it for you. And when I say someone else, I don't like it when people have a builder who's working on the project as the person who's telling you about the quality of their own work, because it's like getting your kids to mark their own homework. I think you need somebody else's eyes on your project who's independent of your trades. So whether that be, in my case, my students work with each other. They're all around Australia, and somebody else is really excited at the opportunity of watching a renovation or watching over a renovation on behalf of someone else. We're equipped with WhatsApp, we've got videos, we've got camera, we've got FaceTime. It's so
Amazing.
easy to do remote renovations now using the technical tools that we have at our fingertips. And
Yeah.
also someone you trust to just kind of look over things and say, hey, this happened today. What do you think about this? You don't have to take responsibility for it, but you
Yeah,
can absolutely just be the eyes and ears on the ground. That's so helpful. A
definitely.
lot of people lean on rental managers, and rental managers or local real estate agents will help to a point, but it's not their main jam. You know,
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah.
And a rental manager, even if you're going to leave the property with them to tenant
Yeah.
out, it's not their favorite thing to do is project
Yeah.
manage your renovation. I really think that, to lean on somebody inside the community that you trust is a better idea.
Yeah. So I used to leverage two things when all the renovations that I've done, and I haven't done a lot. I shouldn't claim that I have. I've done probably like maybe 4 renovations all up. But I had my painter who would be my eyes and ears on the ground, right? Because he's there on site every day. He's the
Yeah.
longest there.
Yeah.
And so he would be my best friend. I'll always pay him extra to you. And he's not project managing it for me. He's just like the mole between,
That's it.
all the
That's
trades. Basically, that's what
and
it
that
is. That's all I want, right? Did the
yeah,
trades
that's all
came
you
on
need.
time? Did they did the job properly? That's all you want to know, really, right? Um,
Yeah. So I had a really good handyman on site, same thing, Moxin. He was just my eyes and ears on the ground. He let the tradies in and he sent photos of their work at the end of the day, and he was just really handy, and I just paid him. It was
yeah,
easy. It was the
yeah,
easiest reno I'd done in a little while, and I would go down here to Carpet Court because I knew there was a store around the corner from them. I had pictures of the tiles, and I remember because I'd obviously visited the property at some point, hadn't been there for a few years, mind you, but So I knew what the tiles were like. I knew what I had to match. I'd go here and choose locally where I could feel and touch and see things and order from up there and get it delivered up there. There's so many things you can do that make it really easy to renovate remotely.
And it's not always about cutting corners. People try to basically cut corners without getting the right trades. They'd be like, oh, I'll order the stock and I'll get you the stock and then I'll get the trades to basically do the stock. Sometimes it becomes too messy. Sometimes it's easier to let the trades bring their own paint rather than you organizing the paint for them. Little things
Yeah.
like that, where you might not be saving a gazillion dollars, but you're not spending a gazillion dollars, but you're just keeping the budget tight as well.
Yeah, we need to keep our budget tight and we need to watch our dollars, but we don't need to lose sleep or energy over $20, Like
Yeah.
it does my head in when people are
Paintbrush.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, just got to let it go a little bit.
Yeah.
And the same when joint venture agreements are taking place and the result of JVs, if someone earns $2,000 more than somebody else that's what you all agreed on in the start and the result was successful overall, let it go. $2,000 in our lifetime is really nothing, Moxin, with property prices going up and down and the value of the investments that we've got that accumulate, cars depreciating in the driveway, money's money. It just flows in and out.
100%. Now, the final question is about the sale. So you've done the renovations, you've gone in, there's a lot of scars that, you walked out of. You've got the property now. Do you stage it? Do you not stage it? How do you pick the right agent? What marketing strategies do you need to take? And take us through a bit about that.
Yes, staging 100% always, never, ever, ever sell a house empty. Makes people feel cold and confused when they walk through a property, and you will always do better selling a property staged. If you don't have a lot of money, you don't have to stage every room, but definitely say lounge room, even the kitchen bathrooms takes a hot minute to stage them. But those towels and a few things on the vanity can change the whole look of a boring bathroom.
Mm.
So staging makes boring feel so much more appealing. Staging can make a not so perfect renovation look better. Staging can really take a person, your buyer, on an emotional journey right from the front door all the way through the property and really connect them to a space. And that's where you start to get real estate agents very, very happy with you because you've presented a nice property and make their job very, very easy to put one buyer against another and try and, climb that price up. So yes, always stage. Real estate agents, I really think that when you're on the ground and you're in the trenches and your boots on the ground, you connect with real estate agents whilst you're finding properties and whilst you're doing deals. And you should always take notice of who really connects with you, who follows up, who's lazy, who's not, who's selling properties faster, who's just dropping prices to sell them fast. Like really start to look at agents. Don't just listen to Joe down the road on the barbecue who says, my son-in-law is a real estate agent. You should
Yeah.
give him a listing. We're not going to do that. We're going to choose the best agent we can in the area and one that we feel that we can relate to just a little bit. They're not going to be our best friends, whether we're buyers or sellers. They're still not our besties, but they're a big part of our business. And so we must feel like they've got the capacity to do
Yeah.
the deal and get a deal done for us. Marketing, we should always make sure that they're presenting the best photos online, that the best lead photo is the best photo of that property. There is nothing wrong with going through their marketing campaign and really, or practically even writing one. I've written marketing campaigns for real estate agents before, going, this is what I really felt about this property. This was a standout feature and I want it in the campaign. But yet, definitely go through the marketing campaign and see if it's putting your property forward looking its best or feeling its best, attracting a potential buyer to come visit because buyers they'll look by what they find online, then they'll turn up to a property and they'll buy by feel.
Don't get yourself taken on a ride by property spookers, so-called property investment advisors, or buyer's agents who are selling house and land packages or off-the-plan properties or apartments. Get yourself a copy of this book called The Millennial's Guide to Property Investing. This book is not just for millennials. The title suggests, but it's actually the most advanced way of investing in property. This book will relate to your clients, your colleagues, and other business owners. There are so many property spookers out there who have come out of the woodwork over the last 3 to 5 years, and there is so much misinformation out there that I had to write a book about all the F-ups that people can actually avoid in order to be super successful in the property investment journey. Some of these are really easy to identify, but they are so costly to fix once these mistakes are made. So it's a short book, it's easy to read, it has a lot of stories, it has a lot of examples, and it is a true guide for people who wants to do it themselves. My name is Moxin Reza. This is my story, and a lot of you will relate to parts of this story if you're not born in the riches and if you're trying to build a property portfolio that can last generations and help you improve your lifestyle along the way. So I give you a chance to come out there and have a read. Be kind, stay safe, keep smiling, keep investing, and please do check out the book.
Yeah, 100%. And it's so true. Like, it's not just about the photos or the marketing. You're selling a dream, right? You're not selling a house, right? So in order to sell the dream, you need to have the A team in place. You need to make sure that the real estate agent is, up for the challenge. He's dressed for the occasion, and the house is basically feeling like it is for the demographics, right? I remember, like, this is such a cool trick. I joined one of the auction campaigns, and we were planning to buy this property. This is in Melbourne, in Mitcham. And the agent there had cakes baking in the oven on the day of the auction. And I was like, dude, like this is next level. Like, you can buy cakes, dude. Like, it's not that expensive, right? And he's
Yeah.
like, no, you don't understand. The
It's the
smell of the
smell.
food makes
Yeah.
it so warm in the house that people pay. Yeah, like next level. And I could tell, like, that, the owner occupier who went into the house, the person who bought the property, they at least paid, I would say, at least $150,000 over that budget price, because I knew the reserve.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
like, Jesus, like, this thing works. Is real. So
Yeah, and Moxima, you just touched on a point. A lot of people think about the getting in and the getting out, and they forget about the little touches that actually do get people to pay over the top. So even renovating, and I'm not for perfectionism, because it's just it's just too much, and that's what does destroy relationships. So I'm not
yeah,
talking about that, but I'm talking about paying attention to what buyers will see, just lifting the game a little bit. Really rough renovations, I truly think, are very identifiable by buyers and by tenants, and they don't do any of us a service in the flipping game. So I think, we all should honor properties and do a decent job. You make it easy for your real estate agents to sell. They'll want to be your bestie because they'll bring you deals off market if they can get you deals, or in Moxon, respect to Moxon, buyers agents can get you good deals too. But the truth is, you've got to get those deals in the first place, and they have to be decent. So you
yeah,
need that relationship. You need to build relationships, and you need to build your network of people that are going to look after you. And getting those deals in the first place is really important. And
it's
selling the
so true.
property for more, that matters too.
Yeah. So you've talked about one of the biggest things that renovators should care about. What is one of the biggest mistakes renovators or the investors should care about when they're buying or renovating a property? What is one common mistake that you see all the time?
Buying the wrong property. Like buying a property with such a bad layout, it doesn't matter what they do to that property, they're never going to be able to improve that layout on a reasonable budget. And therefore, even though it's pretty, every future buyer walks through and they go, oh, this just doesn't make sense. The layout doesn't make sense. There's some
Mm,
really terribly built homes, and it costs a lot to change layouts. So I think buying a good property to renovate in the first place is pretty important. Yeah, and just buying under market value best you can, or buying at market value, just not paying too much for the property in the first place.
yeah.
Setting your renovation budget, sticking to the plan, getting it done in a timely manner, styling
Yeah.
it so it looks really, really nice, and selling it for as much as you can, or pulling the equity out to go and do again.
I think one of the things that I always say this out, and we do buy a lot of reno flips for a lot of people, right? I say to people that yes, renovation is about buying under market value properties, but you
Yeah,
need to understand that it should be under market because the house is not presentable, not because it's something wrong with the house.
correct.
And so that's
Yep,
the distinction that a buyer does not get, right? If you buy a terrible house that no one likes, no matter how much you put lipstick to that pig, it's still going to be an ugly pig, right? So
yeah.
you need to make sure that it needs to be a doll where you present it nicely and it comes out as a doll. That's the big difference that I always say out to people, that, if no one wants this property right now and if there is no attraction to it, that means that there would be no attraction when you put that lipstick to the pig. Do you agree to that to some extent?
I think that houses that smell terribly of cat's wee are great to renovate. And so if the more smelly they are, the dirt, the surface level dirt stuff, if that's not appealing to stuff, that's easy stuff to fix. But
Correct.
people buy, you're right, Moxon, people do buy properties that are, I'll call them problem properties. So if
Yeah.
they're not appealing because they're damp or they're dark or they get no sun or
Mm.
there's noisy neighbors next door or you're right near a power stanchion or you're right on a main road, those things you can't fix. They're problems you can't fix. So we love
Yeah.
smelling and dirty. We love cat's wee. There's a house so bad I walked through once before with a real estate agent, and people weren't walking through the door. And he said, I called you specifically for this house, Belinda, because I knew you'd be into it. So I'm like, let's go straight in. My eyes were watering. The uric acid was horrendous. But it was a good property and had subdivision potential. So I was all over that. It's
Yeah.
amazing the people who wouldn't look at that. That was a problem you could fix.
What's one valuable lesson, Belinda, that you have learned through all the projects? What is one lesson that you would give to your young self if you were starting today?
I'd do more. So I think that even though I felt like my husband and I were busy, we had kids, we had life. Everyone's got kids and have life. But I think there were moments where we just took a couple of years off when we should have been doing more. So
Yeah,
do more, go for it. Just always be on the lookout. I think you prepare for your later years by doing more work in your younger years. Do
100%.
more.
Where can people find you, Belinda? A quick shout out to, where can people find you? Where can people contact you? Does your community exist? And how can people contact you? How can people harass you?
I don't mind a bit of harassment. Renovate and Real Estate.com.au is the website. Renovate and the word and realestate.com.au. I'm on socials at Renovate and Real Estate. Hit me up by private message. Or I actually think my phone number's still on the website somewhere. I don't mind. Call, you can harass me. It's all good.
And is the community like a Facebook community? Is it a Facebook group? Is it a WhatsApp chat? What is it?
Yeah. So we've got a Facebook group, Renovate and Real Estate, also an Instagram page. And I also run coaching programs in a number of different Facebook groups and online portals.
Amazing. Awesome. Any final words before we wrap this up, Belinda?
Go for it. Be fearless. Do your numbers. Don't fall in love with a dud. Same as life, I guess. Don't fall in love with a dud. Choose your property like you choose your partners. Make sure it all
Yes.
stacks up.
I say that again. I think that was golden words. Choose your people. Choose your property just like you choose your partners. That's amazing.
Make sure everything stacks up.
Just do the feasibility like you'll do the prenups, right? So make sure that the numbers stick on the paper before you go out there and it's okay to sign the life away at times where you are dead serious and sure that you would walk away unscathed. Well, there's always some scars, but there's profit at the very end. Don't do this for the sake of fun, because fun does not pay your bills. Fun does not put food on the table. We're all in this for money, and make sure that there is enough money on the table for everyone to share. Don't be greedy on that first deal where you're trying to become a millionaire or a billionaire. You will get that opportunity to cash out and cash out big. You just need to have runs on the board. Thank you very much, Belinda, for coming on the show today. It was amazing, awesome. It was such a nice chat. For viewers and listeners, if you have your own stories to share for renovation projects or disaster or success, please drop it in the comments below. Like and share our content. If you want to reach out to Belinda, and if you can't find her, you can always reach us out, and we can always put you in touch with her. You can reach us out at info@helpmebuy.com.au. Thank you for listening to us today. Take care, stay safe, keep smiling, keep investing. This is Belinda and Ross checking out. Adios.